DIY mechanic PandaManda22 here, and I'm here with another tutorial. Today we're going to be doing spark plugs on a NA Miata 96 1.8 liter 4-cylinder. I'm going to show you some steps. The tools you're going to need are very simple. You need a spark plug socket, nice long extension, and a nice ratchet. First, figure out how many spark plugs you're going to need. And if you don't know how many cylinders your car has, you might not be wanting to do this. Always disconnect your battery before you start working on the car. Very important. Learn that one the hard way. Don't learn the hard way. Disconnect the battery. Now I ordered new of these, new spark plug wires. But you need to remember to keep them in order, even when you're just doing a simple spark plug change. Also, you need to inspect them. If there's oil in there, then that means that there's oil leaking into where the spark plug is on the head and you have a leaking valve cover gasket, which this car does have. And I'm going to show you in another tutorial how to replace that. And buy your favorite brand spark plugs. Try to stick to a good name brand so you don't get some garbage. Buy 4 if your car needs 4 and make sure they fit your car. Also make sure to get some anti-seize lubricant because you don't want those spark plugs getting stuck in there, and even worse than that, you don't want to strip your head. Get this and you insert it in here. Make sure it seats nice and good. There's a little rubber thing, so make sure you push it down, seat it nice and well. Grab it and, stupid cars, twist gently. If you hear any creaking or squeaking, do not force it, because if you strip your head, by golly, you're in a very bad position. So be very gentle. You know, do it softly. Enjoy the moment and get that sucker out. I might have forgot to mention this before, but you want to make sure to grow a beard before you do this, because automatically by growing a beard you become a better mechanic. So if you don't have a beard, do not do this. Grow it first, then come back, okay? Now it's very important to inspect your spark plugs, spark plugs when you take them out. And I'm going to include a little list in there with images. Cars keep going by with images. And as you can see, this one is a little bit white, so it's probably running a little bit too hot, which is pretty common with Miatas, and I gotta take care of that. On the way I ran into a little problem, which is gonna happen. What happens is these spark plug cables are really old. When we bought the car, they probably haven't changed in a while. So as you see, they're supposed to look like this with the rubber little gasket thing on the end. This fits over the spark plug. What happens is in cylinder 2 and 4, it had come off and gotten stuck on the spark plug inside of there. Now, I tried at first to pull it off with needle nose pliers, and the result was this. Tore it apart, but couldn't get it out. So what I found worked was getting a socket, alright? The size of this one is a 1/2-inch socket. When I pushed it in as hard as I could, it fit in there, you see? Twisted it around a little bit, jiggled it, and popped it right out. So don't waste your time fighting it with pliers and ripping it up into shreds. Instead, get a 1/2-inch socket, or depending on the spark plug size, just get whatever socket will fit, because if not, if this stays in there, there's no way that you'll be able to stick the spark plug adapter to pull it out. Now these spark plugs were really terrible, and by really terrible I mean extremely terrible. But once you have all 4 of those removed, move on to your new ones. Alright, you could see that difference. It's kind of depressing that the previous owner hadn't changed these in so long, but I'm glad I'm getting to doing it now. So what you're going to do is this. You get a little glob of anti-seize and put it right there on the threads, and then spread it around with your finger. Once it's all evenly spread, make sure none of it gets on the tip. You could reinstall it inside the end of your socket, and carefully, sorry, let me get some sunlight in there, lower it back in there. So once it's lowered in, you want to start off by tightening it with your fingers, little by little, as gently as you can. Because if you thread it in wrong, you could risk stripping your head. Now once you got it as far in as you could go with your fingers, begin to tighten it by hand. Now remember, this doesn't need to be extremely tight, and if you don't have a torque wrench to torque it down to the right specs, do it like this. As hard as you could push with your thumb, and you should be good. Using a torque wrench, check your manual for the right amount of foot-pounds, set it, and then move it till you hear the little click, and that's when you're at the right tightness. Stress this enough to not over tighten these, because you will be crying and spending lots of money changing your head when it's stripped. This step's 4 times for a 4-cylinder, 6 times for a 6-cylinder, 8 times for an 8-cylinder, 12 times for a 12-cylinder, 16 times for a 16-cylinder, and so on. Once you're done, we're gonna move on to the wires. Get some new wires, reputable brand. Now it's a plane going by, oh my. And I'm gonna show you how to install those. Get some that are pre-cut because they're ready to fit on your car and no modification is needed. Now you need to realize that they go from short to long, and you need to keep them in the same order as they were originally, from short to long, cylinders 1, 2, 3, and 4, in the right order. Starting with the shortest one, which is cylinder 4. So what you do is come here, wiggle it, and pop it right off. Very simple. Now if you feel like being a boss, get yourself some of this. It's gonna help, at least I think it does. And place it right here. And a little bit in there. Put it in, wiggle it on till it's nice and tight. Put it inside and just push it in and wiggle it down. And last but not least, number 1. Make sure they are all nice and snug in there. And admire the beauty of having some brand new spark plugs and brand new wires. Blue too. Pretty cool, huh? Now all that's left is to reconnect the battery, tighten it down, make sure everything's in place, and listen to the smoothness of some brand new spark plugs and wires. And you're ready to go for a ride. The acceleration is so much smoother now, and the idle is just beautiful. It's really a big difference. Those spark plugs needed to be changed a long time ago. But now that they are, we could cruise in style. Yeah! Thanks for watching. Hope it helped. Like, comment with questions, suggestions, or tips, and subscribe.